I'm Olivia, and Mila's over here on the floor, and she'll be joining us later, I'm sure. And today we're going to talk about the book, The Hills of Estrella, Roja. I don't have any, I've got the editing computer up, as I've said in other videos, but I don't have the skill set yet to do the other things I want to do, books and stuff. I do want to do sewing on this channel. I'm not sure how I'm going to fit that into the theme of recommendations. I mean, I guess make your own clothes. That's a good way to do it. I have sensory integration problems, and so I'm going to be making clothes that fit my body and also fit, the way that I wear clothes, my own comfort level, physical and like psychological comfort. I have a pair of pants. I'm going to start with a pair of pants that are entirely too long. They are just, it's like egregious. And so you'll get to watch me completely fail to do that successfully on the first try. I have a little gooseneck thing coming in the mail, which I will use to attach my phone to my sewing table, so you can watch me really mess this up. But they're ludicrously long, so I'm just going to make them long, and then we'll see. And once I blow that completely, I'll cut that part off, and we'll do the other part. So, but I've got my sewing table, and I've got my editing computer, and I've got two phones. I need to figure out what I'm going to do with the third. Alex and I are kind of butting heads about what I want to do with the third phone. The screen on the phone gave out almost 2 years ago now. Actually, they grew up. It actually gave up the ghost 2 years ago. This coming Wednesday, March 26th. Or maybe it was the 25th. But yeah, I've had this phone that whole time. I would like to put a just put a new screen on it, and Alex wants me to do some creative thing with it hooking up to the computer. We'll see what I end up doing. So I've got a whole raft of fabric here, old sheets from when I was married. You better not find anything to eat on this floor. I vacuumed in here. Might be a bug. We'll see. But I've got old sheets, I've got new sheets, I've been buying sheets on clearance because sheets make better, they're cheaper per square yard than fabric, than like yard goods. But, so I'll be recommending, I guess, sewing and making your clothes your own. Hey, you don't like the length of this pants? You can make them longer this way. You can cut them off and add fabric and make them longer. You can cut fabric off and make them shorter. You can cut fabric off and make them too short and then have to add fabric back to make them longer. We'll see how it goes. So, but first, The Hills of Estrella Roja. Let's see how my Spanish accent makes it through this whole thing. By Ashley Robin Franklin. Now look at Ashley something Franklin. Ashley Robin Franklin. It's a graphic novel, and it took me a while. Actually took me a while to figure out how the panels read from one to the other. But I bought it at my favorite bookstore. Nowhere it's signed. So we're just gonna kind of head in. I've got my little script here, so. Now you can I don't even need to read it. You can just freeze frame on that and read it. I'm kidding. Probably. Okay. So, Estrella Roja, literally Red Star, is a small town in Texas in this graphic novel. The back of the book posits Cat Fields as our protagonist, but this book truly has two protagonists. Well, actually, in the classical sense, the protagonist is somebody completely different, but we'll get to that. So, since this is a graphic novel, the story beats are a little different from a traditional novel. We'll see how it goes. We start with Marisol Castillo awaking from a nightmare to find her mother telling her that their grandmother's dying and that Mari, her sister Ana, and their mom have to return home to the town of Estrella Roja. Several days later, just as spring break is starting, what is likely to be the University of Texas at Austin, because I think that's actually where Franklin, I think that might actually be where Franklin went. No, it just says she lives in Austin now. There's also some other colleges there in town, so it could have been one of them, but we're going to assume it's the University of Texas at Austin. Cat Fields is wrapping up an episode of her Paranormal Texas podcast. Cat returns to her dorm, where her obsession with her podcast and with Paranormal Texas in general is annoying her roommate. While there, she receives an email talking about the red lights that hover over the hills in the town of Estrella Roja. Yeah, that's why the town's called Red Star, and suggesting that Kat check it out. Kat is immediately into the idea, but her co-host, Clem, isn't so sure. Clem is non-binary, try to talk Kat out of going 5 hours into the hinterlands of Texas for content for the podcast, but Kat insists she needs to do this. Clem has plans for spring break, so they insist that Kat call us every day while in Estrella Roja. So Kat heads out to Estrella Roja. Meanwhile, Mari's grandmother dies, and we get a view into the Castillo family, where Mari really doesn't fit in. After driving for entirely too long, Kat finally arrives in Estrella Roja to find the residents are, well, not terribly friendly. The town is so unwelcoming that there isn't even a motel in town. The closest motel is 45 miles south, so Kat ends up living in her car for the duration. Meanwhile, things are also tense for Mari. For some reason, her family is unwelcoming to Mari and her family, her sister and mom as well. They, including her mom, are clearly hiding something. Mari and Kat see each other in what looks like the only restaurant in town, Marla's. They're instantly attracted to one another, but they're doing their own things, so they can't really talk then. Later, Kat sees Mari reading the novel the movie Fried Green Tomatoes is based on and introduces herself. After Kat unsuccessfully tries to convince anyone in the town to talk to her about the lights, Mari agrees to be interviewed. Things continue to get more tense around Mari's family house, and Kat keeps getting stonewalled by everyone except Mari. Eventually, Mari and Kat go to the library where, while their attraction to each other grows, they find an article about some people who went missing in Estrella Roja, and a woman named Bethany Castle, who, along with 2 others, was convicted of their murder. Later, we found that Bethany and the others have disappeared. There are a lot of panels of both Kat and Mari being ostracized, criticized, and stared at. And speaking of the old news story, Castle is English version of Castillo. I cannot for the life of me figure out if that's a coincidence. I guess that's a little bit of a spoiler that Bethany's not going to really figure much into the rest of the story. At this point, we're just going to, I think it's going to be the spoiler space ending point here. Only 7 minutes in, but it is what it is. As always, if you want to be spoiled, keep going. Otherwise, if you know any books you think I'd enjoy, feel free to put them in the comments. My Goodreads account has over 900 books, both read and to be read, and some of the to be reads are things I've already read. If I could go back in time, I really would like to tell my childhood self to start writing down when she read these books, because this was a nightmare. When I started my Goodreads account, I've always wanted a master list of all the books I've read. So when I started my Goodreads account, I'm like, okay, so these are the books I've read. And then I'm like, well, when did I read them? I have no idea when I read them. Am I going to have to read them all over again? And yes, I'm reading them all over again. There's a bunch of books where I'm not going to read them. I'm like, oh, that was a bad emotional experience. We will not read that again. And those books, I all flagged as December 31st, 2020. So it's like, 50 books for a year, 100 books for a year, 95 books for a year, and then 2020, I think it's 2020 is like, because like everything that I don't ever want to read again is stuck there. But I've got 900 books in there, 500 of which I've read recently, and 400 of which are things that I want to read and things that I want to reread. So the book may already be on my Goodreads list. We'll see how it goes. And of course, everything here I've already read, and most of those will show up in this series at some point. So, as always, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon. I'll see you in the next one. At this point in my script, I comment that I have written 6 scripts and not filmed a single one of them. I think this is the 5th. I wonder what the other one was. This is the 5th script I filmed, just for anybody keeping track at home. So, Mari and Kat go exploring the hills and find a cave. An owl-like creature scares them off, and Kat remembers the legend of a creature called a lechuza, which is the Spanish word for owl, but can also refer to sort of a witch being. Are you okay down there? Yeah. Yeah, you're okay. She's being awfully quiet. And this is when Mari realizes the lechuza that scared them off is her Aunt Lily. This doesn't dissuade them, however. In fact, it makes them even more curious. So they go back and meet a spirit who says it's being held against his will and asks him to break the barrier and set it free. Now remember, the lechuza is a scary thing. Aunt Lily is the scary thing. So I mean, it's kind of silly for them to buy this, but on the other hand, they're Mari is still in high school and Kat's pretty young in college, so they're what, 17, 16, 19. Mari feels sorry for her. Her cousin Isabel tries to stop her, but feeling the lechuzas are evil, Mari scuffs away part of the barrier. It is then she discovers the lechuzas have been protecting the town from a demon. Mari is willing to sacrifice herself to rectify her mistake. She sends Kat away, and Kat runs into the demon with her car, which buys them just enough time for Mari's Aunt Lily, in Owl Farm, to drive the demon back. Owl form to drive the demon back. They use Mari's abuela's ashes to seal it back into its cave. Once the excitement is over, her family asks to be introduced to Mari's friend, and it's all very awkward and cute. It is really an adorable scene. I loved that. The book ends with an epilogue in which Mari is going to be so close to Kat for college. So we don't know. I mean, is she going to be going to one of the other schools in Austin? Is she going to be going to Texas State, which is in San Marcos? It's not very far from Austin at all. Is she going to be in San Antonio? San Antonio is not very far from Austin from a Texan perspective either. It doesn't say. And Mari, Kat, Clem, and Isabel are all going to go look for something paranormal together. It's a very cute queer romance paranormal family drama book, and being a graphic novel, it's a pretty fast read. Now, I did make that comment early on. Coming up. Yeah. I did make that comment earlier on. Hello, there she is. I did make that comment earlier on about somebody else being the classical protagonist. Now, classically, the protagonist is one who takes action. And most protagonists, as we know them in books, are reacting to something. The person who's taking action in this book is Anna, because she's the one who said she's a fan of Kat's podcast, and she's the one who sent the email to Kat in the first place. So the reason this whole thing happened is because Anna took the bit in her teeth and called and emailed Kat to have her come out to Estrella, Roja, because she wanted to know what was going on. It was, with that little revelation, that was cute. But the whole ending is just so freaking adorable. I loved it. It's a good book. It's fantastic. Like I said, it's a graphic novel, so it's a pretty fast read. I love it. Hills of Estrella Roja by Ashley, I never remember her middle name, Robin Franklin. As always, for the people who who stayed for the spoilers, make recommendations in the comments, like, subscribe, and share, and I will talk to you in the next one. And I guess Mila will also do so. Bye-bye for now.